night, like clockwork, a soft and haunting melody echoed through the quiet neighborhood. It was a secret shared by all the residents, a secret that bound them together in a strange, silent pact. Nobody knew who or what created the melody, but they all understood the unspoken rule. Never, under any circumstances, should they attempt to uncover its source. The quaint neighborhood was a haven of serenity, nestled under a canopy of ancient trees. Families had grown up there for generations, and newcomers were welcomed with open arms. But they were also welcomed with a warning, delivered by the welcoming committee, a group of seasoned residents responsible for acclimating new families to the area. Tom and Sarah were the latest additions to the neighborhood. They had moved into a charming cottage on Elm Street, drawn by the allure of a close-knit community and the promise of a million little blessings. Their daughter, Lily, had been born prematurely, and they believed the peaceful environment would aid her recovery. The welcoming committee, comprised of Eleanor, Richard, and Emily, arrived at their doorstep one evening. Armed with homemade lasagna and a basket of fresh fruit, they introduced themselves with warm smiles and shared stories of their own experiences in the neighborhood. But soon enough, they broached the subject of the haunting melody. Emily, the most senior member, spoke softly but with unwavering conviction. "Every night at precisely 12 a.m., you'll hear a gentle melody drifting through the air. It will come from somewhere near the edge of our lane, close to the Carson place. You'll hear it if you're in the living room or the kitchen. But remember, never attempt to seek its source." Tom and Sarah exchanged perplexed glances. "What happens if you do?" Sarah finally asked. Eleanor leaned in, her eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. "Bad things," she whispered. "The worst kind of bad luck follows those who dare to look." Their curiosity piqued. Tom and Sarah listened intently as the committee recounted stories of car crashes, ruined lives, and inexplicable tragedies that had befallen those who had ignored the warning. The evidence, presented in a manila folder, was both chilling and convincing. The couple exchanged a nod, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. They vowed never to challenge the mysterious melody and its unknown consequences. As weeks turned into months, Tom, Sarah, and Lily settled into their new life. Lily's health improved steadily, and the couple marveled at the countless small blessings that seemed to shower them daily. It was indeed an idyllic place to raise their daughter. One evening, however, as they shared a quiet moment in the living room, Lily in her crib, they noticed their neighbor, Mrs. Baker, sitting alone on her porch, bathed in the pale moonlight. The melody wafted gently through the open window, and Tom couldn't help but wonder about its origin. Sarah, ever cautious, reminded him of the rule. "We mustn't look, Tom. We promised." He agreed, and with a sense of foreboding, they turned their attention away from the window. Months passed without incident, and they fell into the comforting routine of their neighborhood. But one fateful evening, their world was disrupted by a knock at the door. It was a young boy, Jason, the son of their next-door neighbors, the Carters. Jason's eyes darted nervously as he asked, "Do you know who's out there whistling every night?" Tom and Sarah exchanged worried glances, recognizing the weight of the question. "We don't talk about that," Tom replied. But Jason, driven by a mix of curiosity and bravado, pressed on. "I think it's that weirdo who lives in the big yellow house on the corner," he said. "No way, he's really nice," Sarah responded. Jason's eyes widened. "Must be a psycho killer then." Tom repeated the rule. "We don't talk about it. Let's do something else. How about we play some board games?" They spent the evening playing games and watching movies, but Jason's curiosity seemed to grow, like a persistent itch. As the night grew darker, he couldn't resist the urge any longer. "Have you ever even tried looking?" he asked, his voice trembling. Sarah's eyes flashed with concern. "We don't..." But Jason cut her off. I can't even try because my dad locks the blinds every night and hides the key." Sarah sighed in relief, thinking their rule was safe. "So does our dad," she said reassuringly. But Jason shook his head. "No, he doesn't." Tom was taken aback. "You saw him do it. We saw him do it." Jason grinned mischievously. "Your dad locks the blinds, yeah, but he doesn't hide the key. He keeps it right on his normal keychain." Their hearts sank as they realized their vulnerability. Jason had the key. Their fear became palpable as the appointed time approached, and the haunting melody started its nightly journey. In the darkness, Jason managed to unlock the blinds, his trembling hands betraying his nervousness. The room seemed to hold its breath as the blind slowly ascended. Then, the unthinkable happened. The whistling ceased abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. Tom and Sarah clung to each other, their eyes tightly shut, praying that they had acted in time. They held their breath until they heard Jason scream. Everything happened in a blur. Lights flooded the room, their parents rushed in, and Jason's cries filled the air. Their mother tried to comfort him, but it was their father who understood the severity of the situation. "Only Jason?" he mouthed to Tom, who nodded in confirmation. Relieved that their beloved daughter remained unharmed, their father shifted his attention to Jason, whose trembling form told a story of terror and despair. It was a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the consequences of defying the unspoken rule. As the night unfolded, their home became a fortress. The knocking, eerily echoing Jason's earlier curiosity, pounded at their doors and windows seeking entry. A battle of wills raged, but the family held firm, determined to protect their sanctuary. Dawn eventually broke, dispersing the haunting presence that had besieged them. Their ordeal was over, but the scars would remain. Days turned into weeks, and the Carters decided to leave, their weary faces mirroring the suffering they had endured. Tom and Sarah understood their decision, for they had witnessed firsthand the toll it took to defy the rule. Life in the neighborhood continued, but the memory of that fateful night remained etched in their minds. The melody still echoed through the air each night, a reminder of the enigmatic force that bound their community together. Tom, Sarah, and Lily continued to thrive in their new home, grateful for the million little blessings bestowed upon them. But they too had learned the importance of heeding the warning, never daring to seek answers to questions best left unasked. Motion detected at the front door. Motion detected at the front door. I glanced down at my phone, my heart racing. 2 more alerts from the security system I'd recently installed in my new apartment. Ever since I moved into this place, it felt like I was living in a constant state of tension. "Another alert?" Mark asked from the kitchen, where he was busy preparing dinner. I picked up my phone and opened the security app. "Yeah, it's happening again." "Anything on the camera?" I shook my head as I stared at the live feed on my phone. The corridor outside my apartment was empty, dimly lit, and eerily quiet. This was a modern building in a peaceful neighborhood, not a place where you'd expect frequent disturbances. The screen displayed a perfectly ordinary hallway, my neighbor's door, a faint glow from the exit sign, and motion detected at the front door. Nothing appeared to have moved. My grip on the phone tightened, and a surge of adrenaline made my hands shake. I felt watched, uneasy, but there was no apparent reason for it. Mark walked over to join me, his curiosity piqued. "Maybe it's aliens," he said with a playful smirk. "Or perhaps interdimensional beings." We both chuckled, and the tension dissipated. It was probably just a glitch in the security system. I tried to convince myself that a strong breeze or a passing stray cat could trigger these alerts. "Are you scared, Nick?" Mark asked in a teasing tone. We might be facing an otherworldly invasion. I cleared my throat and tapped the intercom button on the security app. If there are any aliens out there, you better turn around and beam back up to your spaceship. We've got interdimensional barriers and an army of cat videos at our disposal. So, you've been warned. Silence. I guess I scared them off, I said, trying to sound confident. Then, an ear-piercing screech of static erupted from my phone. I dropped it on the floor, and Mark yelped in surprise. "Damn it," I muttered, my heart pounding. "What was that?" "Feedback, probably," Mark suggested. I stared at my phone's dark screen on the floor, apprehensive about picking it up. Would the camera feed still show an empty corridor? After a deep breath, I cautiously retrieved it and placed it on the nightstand without looking at the screen. "Anything there?" Mark asked. "No, it's all clear," I lied, turning over and resting my head on the pillow. "Just a technical glitch." Motion detected at the front door. When I checked my phone the next morning, there were 42 notifications from the security system. It was becoming increasingly clear that my peaceful neighborhood harbored no tangible threats. I made a pact with myself. If I received any more unexplained alerts or mysterious disturbances, I would uninstall the security system entirely. As I sat in my home office trying to focus on my work, that familiar tension returned. It settled between my shoulders, gnawing at me like an invisible predator lurking in the shadows. When a fresh alert flashed on my phone, I nearly flung it across the room. Motion detected at the front door. I reluctantly opened the app to check the camera feed, hoping for an explanation. The video played back, revealing the maintenance guy fixing a light fixture in the hallway. I let out a half-relieved, half-amused sigh. The security system could stay. It was my imagination that needed a break. Motion detected at the front door. Motion detected at the front door. Motion detected at the front door. "What's wrong, Nick?" Mark called from the living room where we were watching a movie. Our version of a cozy date night. "Nothing," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "The security system's acting up again." I brought up the camera feed, and Mark scooted closer to get a look. There was nothing but the usual, a quiet corridor, no signs of life. Motion detected at the front door. "Forget this," I muttered, standing up. "Nick." Ignoring Mark's puzzled look, I walked to the door and swung it open. No one was there, of course. It was an empty hallway. So why did I have this unshakable feeling that someone was standing just inches away from me? I pushed the glass door open wider. "If there's anyone out here, leave. Just go away, please." I whispered the last word, not wanting Mark to hear. Returning to the couch, we resumed watching the movie in silence for several minutes. I was starting to regain my composure. Motion detected at the front door. 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 Both Mark and I stood up, our eyes locked on my phone. The screen switched to the live camera view, revealing an empty hallway. Then, the doorbell rang. Once, twice, and again. Something began to knock on the door, first softly, then more insistently. Hesitating, I took a step toward the door. "Don't," Mark whispered. "Please don't." The ringing and knocking gradually faded to a stop. Despite Mark's reservations, he decided to call the police just to be safe. They came and searched the area, but found nothing unusual. Probably just some pranksters, they suggested. "Pranksters, really?" I asked, incredulous. "It's like they're invisible." One of the officers rolled his eyes before they left. Mark and I were left alone. We tried to sleep, but I couldn't stop checking my phone. Motion detected at the front door. Motion detected at the front door. Motion detected at the front door. In the end, Becky insisted I stow my phone in the drawer on the nightstand. We listened to the faint crackle of static for almost a minute. Then the doorbell rang once more. I haven't slept all night. The sun is up now, and the alerts have ceased. Becky and I both called in sick to work today. I've decided to remove the security system today, but I'm not sure if that will solve the problem. Something was knocking, something we couldn't see, something that wanted in. My new neighbors have a lot of dolls. I saw boxes of the things outside their apartment, just down the hall from mine. I didn't see my actual neighbors, though, only the movers and the open containers nearly overflowing with small porcelain shapes. I watched from my doorway as more than a dozen of the boxes were piled up in front of the empty apartment. "Who needs those many dolls?" I asked one of the movers as he walked back towards the elevator. He just shook his head. I considered saying something to the guy about how all of the boxes, Jesus, did they all have dolls spilling out, were blocking the hallway. A fire hazard. But the mover was a fucking giant, as were all of his co-workers, and I figured it wasn't really my problem. I went back inside to make lunch. When I checked a few hours later, all of the boxes were gone. My new neighbors had moved in. I pictured two old ladies, ancient ladies, Ethel and Gerd or something like that. They'd have shelves and shelves of dolls, a few cats, and infinite fields of family pictures on the walls. The dolls were creepy as all get out, but if my guess about their owners was correct, at least my new neighbors would be quiet. I spent the rest of that afternoon drinking screwdrivers and searching for jobs. The local classifieds weren't promising, but I did some napkin math and figured I could squeak out enough to survive by selling various bodily fluids and working a little bit of retail. It was hot, so I had my bedroom window open, trying to save on AC. I watched the sunset from my fire escape and washed it down with a tall glass of bourbon. The city always looked like it was burned clean when dusk came crashing over the skyline. I passed out on the couch watching cartoons sometime around midnight. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought I dreamed the sound. I blinked when I heard it again. It wasn't the TV. The screen was frozen, a prompt up asking if I'm still watching. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from my door. I rolled off the couch and got to my feet. The apartment was dark. I banged my shin on the coffee table on my way to the door. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was soft and low, too low for a normal knock. Maybe it was a lost kid? I flipped on the lights. "How is it?" I asked. The microwave clock read 3:03 a.m. I was hanging in that fragile limbo between drunk and hungover. If I didn't start drinking again soon, my head was going to ache something awful. Tap, 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 shit. The sound was coming from knee-height on the other side of the door. I suppressed a chill. An unwelcome image slipped into my mind. An open box of old dolls, porcelain and Victorian cloth. Dead eyes. "Either say hello or fuck off," I called through the door. Silence. "Hello," someone said from the hall. It was difficult to tell through the door, but the voice sounded male. High-pitched. Soft. "It's 3 in the morning, buddy," I said, pronouncing buddy the same way you would asshole. "What do you want?" "Can we come in?" A new voice, feminine and even softer than the first. I looked out the peephole. There were 2 people standing outside in the hall. They were so close to my apartment that I couldn't make out much more than an ear and slice of cheek from each. One had long blonde hair. The other had shorter, darker hair. Both wore old-fashioned clothes, maybe from the 50s. A white Marilyn Monroe dress, a brown Sinatra suite. Mr. and Mrs. New Neighbors, I presumed. I leaned my forehead against the door. "Y'all, it's 3 in the a.m. Are you having a medical emergency?" A pause. "No," one of the voices said. I couldn't tell which. "Then fuck off." "No." Up until that point, I'd been feeling a mix of creeped out and annoyed. The no escalated me right past angry to fuck around and find out. "I'm calling the cops," I shouted, "or I'm going to grab my bat from the closet. I don't know which. I'm crazy. It's early. I'm drunkish. Leave me alone." "No." Motherfuckers. Tap, tap, tap. Is your door locked? The woman asked. I felt my rage cool into a gooey puddle of unease. Yes. You're sure? The man asked. My doorknob shook as someone tried to turn it. It was locked. I threw the deadbolt for good measure. Tap, tap, tap. You should leave, I said, wincing at the way my voice broke a little on the last word. Are your windows locked? The woman asked. You know that feeling when you snap from warm buzz to cold sober? I switched so fast my eyes shook. Are they locked? The man asked after I didn't answer. Yes, everything is locked, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I've called the police. A pause. Lair, one of them said. I couldn't tell which. Fuck you. The windows are locked? The woman asked again. Yes. Fuck. You. Are you sure? The man asked. Yes, I'm sure, you creepy moth. A fire escape, a sunset, a glass of whiskey. Did I leave the bedroom window open? I ran to the room and hit the switch. Shit! I yelled. Not only was the window to the fire escape wide open, there was now a doll sitting on my nightstand. It was a little boy dressed in red overalls and a ball cap. The doll's face was tiny and sharp, but dull with age. It was facing the door, facing me. I stood staring for almost a minute. The doll never moved. Of course it didn't fucking move. It was a doll. But how did it get into my bedroom? Night city sounds drifted up from the open window. Even at 3 a.m. there was traffic, arguments, cats courting in the alley. I took a few steps towards the doll. Its face really was nearly worn away. The porcelain was stained gray, and its features were smooth like wood, sanded too many times over the years. Is someone messing with me? I asked the doll. I was standing right next to the nightstand, barely blinking. The doll didn't reply or move, but something made a skittering sound behind me. I spun, but the space between me and the bedroom door was empty. Then I heard a click and the sound of the deadbolt being withdrawn. Someone had opened the front door from the inside. Hello? A soft voice called out from my living room. It felt like my feet were nailed to the floor. I couldn't catch my breath. The window to the fire escape was still open. I took 2 steps towards it and stopped. There were dolls all over the stairs, the railing, little Victorian-looking fucks with dirty porcelain skin. They were all facing the window. You should come out, or we'll have to come in, the voice said. I couldn't tell if it was the man or woman. Fuck this Twilight Zone shit, I whispered. There was a baseball bat in the corner of my room. You know, in case of a break-in or a spontaneous pickup game or whatever. I went for the bat, keeping one eye on the doll on the nightstand. It wasn't moving. Creepy little shit. Okay, I whispered. Okay. I burst out into the living room and stopped, bat held high. There were dolls all over my apartment, on bookshelves, the kitchen counter, the TV, the fucking fridge. And sitting together on my couch were 2 mannequins, a man and a woman. They had identical empty faces, stained and streaked. Her hair was brittle yellow, his was a shoe polish smear. The pair sat completely still, turned towards me. They were dressed just like my neighbors. Not all of your windows were locked, the man said, his mouth never moving. We just wanted to say hi, the woman said, lips not so much as twitching. These were my neighbors. What the fuck? I asked, bat still up. It was a prank. Had to be. Someone filled my house with dolls, and now they were throwing their voice. I don't know why or exactly how, but there was no other logical explanation. What do you want? I yelled, moving around the room. Are you sure you want to know? A voice whispered from behind my ear. I whirled and swung the bat, connecting with nothing but air. I raised the weapon up, then felt it slip from numb fingers. All of the dolls had moved. Every one of the things, maybe 20 or 30, were facing me. My neighbors, the mannequins, now they were standing up. There was no shiver of life in either of them, no rise and fall of lungs in motion, no blinking. I watched them for so long. What is going on? I asked. We're waiting, the female voice said. My neighbors were between me and the door. I carefully began bending down to pick up the bat. I heard hissing coming from everywhere. I stopped moving and the sound ceased. They didn't want me touching the bat, I guess. What are we waiting for? I tried to inch my way towards the kitchen, casual as an office Friday. I was pretty sure my phone was on the small table in there where I'd been drunk texting my ex. A quick glance confirmed that my phone was there, right next to 3 dolls. All of them were watching me with shiny black eyes. It reminded me of the time I found a nest of small snakes in my parents' garage. You should relax, the male voice said. Have a seat. I turned back to find both of the mannequins had returned to the couch. Something about them was different. Their skin looked softer. There was color in the dirty porcelain, and I thought I saw the slightest movement in their chests. I went to my desk in the corner and sat down, never taking my eyes off the creatures. You didn't tell me what we're waiting for. Friends, the female voice said. We've been waiting for more than an hour. The dolls didn't react when I opened my laptop, but the hissing returned when I tried to use Zoom to contact 911. No calling for help. I'm tempted to try to see what happens. Just not yet. This is the strangest, most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me, but I can't help feeling this nauseating curiosity. I think whatever we're waiting for is here. Something is tapping on the door, and all of the windows. They're hissing again. If anything happens to me, there's a girl named Katie J. in Baltimore. Tell her I'm sorry about her birthday party, and I'm sorry about... Just tell her I'm sorry. The tapping is now thudding. The door is shaking. Oh, Christ. I think they're starting to move. I might not get another chance to put this up.